In this video, we are going to discuss diet trials. Putting your cat on a diet trial is a really common thing that your vet may ask you to do. This happens usually if your cat has diarrhea or vomiting, or sometimes if your cat has a skin condition where your vet is suspicious that they may be allergic to the food that you're feeding them. We are going to discuss what diet trials are, how to do it, and why it is so important. I also have some tips about switching your cat's diet that I will share with you later on. A diet trial is a diagnostic test to see if your cat is allergic to a certain protein in its food. Food allergies can cause both gastrointestinal signs in cats, such as vomiting and diarrhea, and it can also cause skin symptoms, such as itchy skin, itchy ears, and sometimes even runny eyes. In some cats, it can cause both gastrointestinal signs and skin signs. Cats can develop an allergy to the food that they have been eating, even if they've been eating it for a long time. The fact that your cat has been eating this food all of their life does not mean that they will not develop an allergy to it at some point. In cats, the allergy is usually to the protein in the food. With a diet trial, the aim is to use a food containing a protein that your cat has never eaten before, so their immune system has never been exposed to it. For some cats, this may be tuna or chicken. For others, they may have already been exposed to all of the common meats in cat food. And so in these cats, we can use foods that are especially made for cats with allergies that have unusual proteins. Things like soy protein or venison or duck that your cat has probably never eaten before. Or other allergy foods contain common proteins, but these proteins have been modified to not cause an allergy in your cat, usually by making the protein so small that the immune system does not recognize it. During a diet trial, your cat should eat only the one food that you have agreed with your vet and drink water, and they should have no access to treats, no milk, and no other foods should be given if possible. The food should be trialed for a minimum of 2 weeks, and if your cat's symptoms are no better at the end of these 2 weeks, you should try at least one more food in case your cat already had an allergy to the first food that you tried. Of course, this is so easy to say, but it can be incredibly difficult to achieve. Essentially, what we are asking you to do is to feed your cat one food and nothing else for 2 weeks. As cat owners, we all know that cats like variety, they like different flavors and textures, and we often rotate through different flavor options so that our cats do not get bored. With a diet trial, you just cannot do that. One option is to provide a wet food and a dry food that contains the same protein, so at least you are giving your cat 2 foods but with one protein, which should not make such a difference to the diet trial. This is one of the most common queries I get from cat owners. They tell me that their cat has been on the same food since they were a kitten and they have never had a problem with it in the past. So why may there be a problem now? There is no simple answer to this question. Food allergies are an overreaction of the immune system. We do not know why it happens so frequently, but it is very common in cats, and it does happen in a lot of cases, even if your cat has been eating the same food for a long time and they've never had a problem with it in the past. Let's talk about the types of food that you can try on a diet trial. You can't try giving your cat a home-cooked diet of white fish or white chicken. This does not need to be given with rice, but you need to be aware that it is not a balanced diet, so it should only be fed for a short period of time, and it is not advisable in growing kittens. There are many commercial foods that you can also try. These foods are specifically made for cats with allergies, and they contain either novel proteins or proteins that have been modified so the immune system does not recognize them. These foods usually come in both wet and dry versions, and your vet will be able to advise you which food is best for your cat. Let's talk about how to change your cat's diet. This can be incredibly challenging in cats, and the key to changing your cat's diet is patience and persistence. I recommend that when you are trying to change your cat's diet, that you continue to offer their old food and place the new food in a separate bowl beside their old food, so that when your cat is eating, they can smell and see the new food, and eventually it will stop being new and hopefully they will try it. Once they have started to show interest in the new food, you can start to gradually reduce the amount of the old food that you are feeding and increase the amount of the new food. Some people mix the new and old foods, and I think this is okay if it is dry food, but I do not recommend this with wet food, as it often results in your cat eating less food than they need. The entire process of switching food can take weeks, if not months. My experience with my incredibly stubborn cat is that it took me 6 months to change his diet. Now, this is not usual with cats. Usually it does not take that long, but you do need to be patient with the process. And you have to keep offering and trying. And I know that this will waste a lot of food, but that is the only way that I know how to change your cat's diet. If your cat is unwell and you cannot wait weeks or months for them to eat the new food, then obviously it is not reasonable to follow these steps. In this case, you should go back to your vet and speak to them because there are other things that we can try. Sometimes that may be trying a different food, or we may be forced to skip this step and go to the next step, which may be medication or further tests. If you have changed your cat's diet but it hasn't made a difference to their symptoms, then I recommend you try a second food in case your cat already had an allergy to the first food that you tried. You should give each diet trial a period of at least 2 weeks of your cat eating only that food. If the symptoms have not got better in that time and you have tried 2 separate diets, then you can say that your cat probably does not have a food allergy. Cats can commonly develop environmental allergies that cause skin symptoms, or your cat may have diarrhea or vomiting that is not related to diet. As vets, we love diet trials because they are non-invasive and inexpensive for the cat and the client. They also help us to identify a condition that can be treated without medication. Instead, it can be treated using diet alone. This is really important because we want to treat animals' conditions appropriately, and if we do not need to use medication, then we want to avoid it. Owners like diet trials much less than vets, and this is completely understandable because you are the one who has to convince your cat to eat the food. You are the one whose cat is giving you that face because they do not want to eat the food that you have put down. This is incredibly difficult. I know because I have been there. But imagine treating your cat with medication for a condition where diet alone could help. This scenario is what we are trying to avoid when we ask you to do a diet trial, and that is why diet trials are so important. My last top tip about diet trials is for those households that have more than one cat. Having multiple cats can make this already difficult process even more challenging. In this case, I highly recommend that either you feed all of your cats the food that you are using for the diet trial, or that you invest in a microchip cat feeder. You can put any food that you do not want your cat on the diet trial to eat inside the feeder, and then you program the microchip feeder so that only the other cats can access it. And that way you know that your cat on the diet trial is eating only what they are supposed to, and you do not need to stand over your cats when they're eating or develop eyes on the back of your head. There is so much to talk about with diet trials, and on the face of it, they should be really easy, but they rarely are, especially if you have a sick cat or a multi-cat household. I hope this has helped you to understand why it is important to persist, even when it is difficult. I have more resources on my website, allcats.co.uk, and if you have topics that you would like to see a video on, please let me know, and I will be happy to make one for you. See you in the next video.